After I got back from the Wild West tour, I repacked my bags, changed the oil, and tightened the chain on the CB500X and headed out on an even larger loop, the Great Desert Southwest Adventure. The first stop that night would be 500 miles away, Death Valley, Saline Hot Springs, so up over the summit, on Old Highway 40 over Donner Lake area, and then around the west side of Lake Tahoe, checked out the lack of water coming into the Truckee River out of Lake Tahoe, and down to Emerald Bay. Lake Tahoe, Emerald Bay, and Fallen Leaf Lake. South Shore. Down to Markleyville on Highway 89 and through Monitor Pass, down to Highway 395 to put on some miles, but not without first stopping at a very important memorial just north of Walker, California. In June of 2002, not long after I left the Forest Service for the commercial flying of the airlines, Stevie Wass and his crew lost their lives when the wings folded up on their C-130A model Airtanker aircraft on a rather benign drop here in Walker, California, effectively ending the use of vintage aircraft for large air tankers in the firefighting industry. Fair skies and tailwinds, my friends. The first signs of winter showing up just outside of Bridgeport in the high Sierras. A little side tour down Rock Creek Road coming into Bishop. And then a final gas stop in Big Pine, California before the long, very remote section of dirt road, Saline Valley Road, down to Saline Hot Springs. Death Valley had just gotten clobbered with a number of large thunderstorms, creating a lot of road closures and washed out conditions. It's a good thing to have those Continental TKC 80 tires in conditions like these. You really need them to get around in the mud and the yuck. Welcome to Death Valley National Park in the Saline Hot Springs in Saline Valley. I've been here a couple of times, but I finally, for the first time, got to spend the night out here last night, and what a neat night. Coyotes howling. We had a small earthquake last night. One of those kind of just vibrates for a good long time. Stars and, very unusual, some rain too. All that thunder and rain that we've had up there at Nevada County recently has resulted in quite a deluge here in the Death Valley area. I'll show you around the springs here a little bit. All this rain down here has created quite a bit of mud, and I sure am glad I got these knobbly tires. The Continental TKC 80s are great for out here. It took about 10 hours of riding to get down here from Nevada City yesterday. Got in here just before dark. When it rains out here in the desert, it really pours, and it just creates these huge alluvial fan washes that moves tons of material of dirt around, and the roads are an absolute mess after this rainstorm. And you'll get in here and get this silt buildup, slicker than snot on a glass doorknob. Look out. These hot springs are a real oasis out here in the middle of the desert. They were created about 50 years ago by a swimming pool contractor, and they're kind of under scrutiny by the Park Service because they're not a part of the natural state of the park. So if you like these kind of things and you like to see them preserved, I highly recommend getting on Facebook there and look up Saline Valley Hot Springs and the Saline Valley Preservation Group and become a part of that group and try to help the fight to preserve these hot springs in Saline Valley. This is one of about at least three pots here of different varying temperatures. It's like the sun's just popped over the mountains now. Dry some of this out. Very unusual to have rain out here. Springs are very well maintained, mostly by folks that come out here and use them. A rustic little kitchen facility. All the comforts of home. There's some pit toilets out there too. Oh, and the chicken strip, airstrip, is located right nearby. You can land in here in your small airplane. Dirt airstrip. One way in, one way out. Shower facility. These springs are located about halfway down the Saline Valley Road, one of the longest continuous dirt roads left in California. Starts way up there at Big Pine, California, and works its way south all the way to Panamint Springs. About 120 miles total of dirt road. If you've come out here in your old car before, you probably left a transmission or some other miscellaneous parts behind. You know how rough it is, and it just changes constantly with the weather. A little bit of rain just completely transforms the road and can easily wash it out. So it takes a good 3 hours from the pavement just to get into the springs here if you're driving. That's just 60 miles. And you got another 3 hours, 60 miles out of here. Saline Valley Hot Springs and Saline Valley Death Valley National Park. Come check it out and come help the effort to preserve these springs. Time for another meager camp breakfast and off to the hot springs for a soak and watch the sunrise over the Inyo Mountains. And wander around and meet some of the interesting characters that are attracted to the Saline Hot Springs, including this character named Hal, the Ghost Town Man.
Okay, it's High Desert Warrior.
High Desert Warrior.
.yahoo.com.
HighDesertWarrior.yahoo.com.
Yeah, or not dot, that little round A.
At ampersand.
Yeah.
This is Hal. He knows a lot about the local area. We'll get some more information from him. He's got some ghost town info we're looking for. Here's some neat old pictures showing how the hot tubs were made by the swimming pool contractor back in the 60s in Saline Valley. And here's what they look like today. If you find this landmark, you'll find the Saline Hot Springs. I won't tell you exactly where it is, GPS coordinates, but if you're a savvy adventurer, you'll be able to figure it out if you don't already know where it's located off of Saline Valley Road. This is kind of odd. There's a bunch of smoke pouring out of South Pass. That looks like smoke. I don't think that's leftover clouds. Maybe it is. Interesting phenomenon. I mean, there's the clouds, the water dogs, as you call them. The moisture hanging onto the mountains after it rains. But that looks blue and different over there. Let's go see what that's all about. Getting up here into South Pass, there ain't no smoke up here. That was just smoke behind the clouds. That was just some kind of a weather phenomenon. Look at that view back down the Saline Valley. This recent rain has made some of this road pretty interesting. They had to pull the car out up here, but I ran into a Inyo County employee, and he said the road is passable on out the South Pass. Good news, because I'd be in a hell of a fuel pickle if I had to turn around way up here and work my way all the way back to Big Pine. I'd have to go back to the springs and beg for gas there, and it'd take 2 days to get out. Well, shoot, I missed it in time for the camera shot. Of course, you always do, but ripping right up out of Saline Valley came an F-18 Hornet right about 200 feet overhead, ripping right up and over that way, over the South Pass. Fortunately, I was able to catch him out of the corner of my eye before he surprised me completely. Those jets hop on you out here. It practically knocks you off your bike after miles and miles of pure quietude, and then have something the speed of heat on jump on you like that. Really surprises you. F-18 right here at the Saline Valley, South Pass. Very cool. Here's some file footage of the F-18s in action in Saline Valley. This is the China Lake Military Operations Area, which operates out of Edwards Air Force Base and has airspace that goes all the way down to the surface. So that's why you get to see these incredible air shows. At the top of South Pass, and here's the stunning view of the Panamint Valley. Death Valley is still one more valley over to the east. Looking down on Panamint Valley from the top of South Pass, the distances here in Death Valley are just vast. You really got to have a long-range tank, plenty of fuel, plenty of water. Civilization at last. Get a burger and a Coke, get the Panamint Springs Resort, and a little bit of gas, and head off to Furnace Creek for the most expensive gas in the planet. The F-18s are putting on an air show out there. They got air show smoke. What's up with that? There's a pair of them in a formation. Got the loop-de-loop going on over here. Heading on up to Furnace Creek. It's warming up. Head on down below sea level to Furnace Creek, California, home of the world's record temperature, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, set back in 1913, and the world's most expensive fuel. But what are you going to do? Pick up one last sip of fuel before heading out to Armagosa. Stopped in Armagosa Junction and got the $5 tour of the Armagosa Opera House from retired dancer Gregory, who gave me the 30-minute tour, an amazing tour of the inside of the Opera House, and the amazing story of Marta Beckett, who owns all the buildings here in Armagosa now. And that's a whole separate video that I'll post a link to. Off to Shoshone for another warm spring pool and camp for the night. I don't know if this is what you call flash flooding. It's just a little bit of rain runoff from a little bit of rain. Anytime it rains in the desert, it's a flash flood. That's just the nature of the topography out here. You do got to respect it, though. Just get out of its way. Nice, clean, quiet camp here at Shoshone Trailer Park, and a warm spring pool to clean up in. Showers, bathroom, everything you need. Very reasonably priced. Cold beer available down at the gas station, and even a wash rack to wash off your rig. If you ever wonder what they keep in the panniers on these Harley Highway Patrol bikes, it's donuts. These fellers talked me into taking the Red Rock Canyon tour into Las Vegas, where I had to head on to Ride On Power Sports to pick up a new rear tire for the little CB500X. The Continental TKC 80s, great tire, but only last about 3,500 miles. Welcome to the Great Desert Southwest Tour of 2015. Let's get this tour officially started after a couple of days of messing around in Death Valley. We're in the Valley of Fire State Park, Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas. Got some new tires there in Las Vegas and ready to burn rubber throughout the desert Southwest. And check out some of these great national parks out here. Most of these parks in the southwest corner of Utah, I've never seen from the ground before. I've always flown over them. Right here at the Valley of Fire at Nellis, when we take off out of Las Vegas, it takes, well, we're just leveling off, especially in an Airbus. We're just leveling off around Las Vegas area once we blast out of LA. And we're beyond most of these great national parks within about an hour's flying time. And I've always looked down and wondered, God, that looks great. Let's see what it looks like from the ground. So with the help of the new little Rally Raid CB500X, I'm doing it. Finally getting a chance to see it. It's October. It's the beginning of October, and the weather is perfect for it. So stay tuned. I got about a week and a half of messing around out here. I think the weather's going to be fine. Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into out here on the Great Desert Southwest Tour of 2015. So through the Valley of Fire State Park, back onto Highway 15, and through the amazing Virgin River Gorge, cut across the northwest corner of Arizona and into St. George, Utah for more gas. Get a couple beers to go and something to eat for the night and head for the hills, Pine Valley, Utah, about the 6,000 foot elevation, for someplace cool to sleep. Looks like I'm always having to beat the sun down. Just by minutes, I finally made it to the Pine Valley recreation area or camping area. It's only about 50 miles out of St. George, Utah. St. George is just a burning hot metropolis down there in that Red Rock country. So by instinct, I headed for the hills in some cooler weather. And boy, is this Pine Valley beautiful. Surrounded by these tall mountains. And we got back into the pinewood tree forests. Go find a campsite before it gets too darn dark. Pine Valley, Utah, just outside of St. George. Neat find. Found a beautiful campsite here at the Pine Valley, at the basin of the Pine Valley Wilderness, at the trailhead here. Nobody here. A campsite with plenty of firewood. My favorite kind of campsite to stumble upon. Nice and cool out here last night. Wind's piping up a little bit today. So yesterday got 4 states in: California, Nevada, Arizona, cut through the corner of Arizona, and then up here into Utah. That was kind of fun. Spent 3 hours getting a rear tire mounted for the CB500 there in Las Vegas at Right On Power Sports. Thanks, guys, for the fairly quick service. But at least they had the tire in stock, and I was able to get on my way as the old one was pretty well wore out. So today we got a few things on the agenda to go look for around here. We're only about 50 miles out of St. George, so lots to see and do around here. These mountains just rise up dramatically out of this beautiful little Pine Valley. Let me show you the Santa Clara River down here. Caught a brown trout. The pretty little Santa Clara River, which is the watershed for the town of Pine Valley, and I think Newcastle as well. Just small little brownies in here. Fun fly fishing. Woolly booger works every time. And they've developed this nice little gentrified walking trail system through here, which makes the campgrounds a real nice place to visit. Get up out of the summer heat and up into the Pine Valley Wilderness area, Utah, just outside of St. George, about 50 miles. Explored a bit around here in the Pine Valley area and picked up National Forest Road number 11, dirt road up through Pinto, Utah, on up into Newcastle, Utah, and found this Grass Valley, the same name as my hometown. Welcome to Grass Valley, Utah. Not too many folks out here, just some cows. There's those Pine Valley Wilderness mountains right up there. Pretty nice. S.W.Utah. Look at the size of some of these mansions around here. They're not getting that kind of money off of ranching. From Newcastle, headed back, double back down to Enterprise, Utah, to a location of one of the most difficult bits of American history I've ever reported on, the Mountain Meadows Massacre Historical National Monument just south of Enterprise, Utah. Well, I'm here at one of the most notorious and saddest sites of American pioneer Western movement history, Mountain Meadows, Utah, on the Old Spanish Trail. The Old Spanish Trail between Salt Lake City and Los Angeles, just south of what is today present-day Enterprise, Utah. On September 7th to September 11th, 1857, 140 pioneer families were gunned down mercilessly, all in the name of religious fanaticism and zealotry. 17 children survived and were eventually reunited with their families. The families attacked were primarily the Baker and Fancher wagon train from Harrison, Arkansas, making their way through Utah country. It was Mormon militiamen that instigated the battle. For years, I've been reading all these pioneer diaries about coming through the Spanish Trail here, and one of the many fears the pioneers always expressed was the fear of Mormons, and I never quite understood that fear until now. The Mormons was a persecuted religion in the Midwest, and that forced the Mormons out here into Utah to try and find some peace and quiet. The Mormons, ever fearful of further persecution, were concerned that the U.S. government was going to come after them here in Utah. As the Baker-Fancher party arrived, the Mormons thought this could have been the federal government coming to further persecute them. So, through a whole series of miscommunications and misunderstandings and downright religious fervor, the Mormon militia initiated an attack on these settlers using the help of local Paiute Indians and posing as Paiute Indian attackers. It took a couple of days to attack this large wagon, and as the days progressed, the militiamen were concerned that, hey, these pioneers are onto something. They know that we are involved with this attack. They've seen white faces in the crowd here, and so they had to do something about it. And they tried to contact Brigham Young. Apparently he didn't get the word back in time, and so the militiamen decided finally to create the final ruse. The white flag entered the camp, said, you guys are free to leave to the north, and so the remaining surviving settlers left to the north, and just a few miles up the road here, the militiamen gave the signal and killed the remaining settlers. Word of the attack, not quickly, but eventually spread across the country, and as the federal government was deciding what to do, and the local Utah government deciding what to do with the guilty party, well, the Civil War intervened. It took a while, but eventually the leader of the militia was found guilty and gunned down by a firing squad here in Utah. Now, the Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints have kind of been well, they've received a lot of scrutiny of their handling of the history of this event, and maybe in an effort to try and keep it kind of swept under the rug, but eventually, under duress from the families, have finally begun to come to terms with it and have erected a couple of monuments out here. Let's go take a look. You can kind of see where this would be a great place to rest your horses and your train here. There's good water and good meadows along the way here before you strike out for the desert. So here it is, the modern current day monument for the Meadows Massacre, including the flag and the flag of Arkansas, the Arkansas state flag, memorializing those members lost from that state, which were most of the folks. And here's what they put up to date. The Mormon Meadows Massacre, 1857, September 11th. All in the name of religious fervor. When will we ever learn?